Wait a minute, Mark. I can't hear you.
How about that? I'll push the unmute button. Now we're ready to
Let
go.
me
You better? Is that better?
click on the volume here.
Make sure it's not me. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
All
Can
right.
you okay? Can you hear me?
We're good to go, my friend. Good afternoon. How about that?
Yeah, I got a little screen up here and I can't figure out how to get it off. It says participants, you and I,
That's it.
but okay, so I'm down in the bottom and you're about halfway in the middle.
Let me, I'm not really sure how to fix that, but all right. Good afternoon, Mr. Fields. How are you?
Good afternoon, Mark. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Thank you for taking maybe up to 20 minutes or so to join us for Coffee with a Candidate. I understand you're somewhere as we speak.
I'm at Montgomery Bell State Park at a CTAS training.
Okay.
Receive my certification as a certified public administrator.
Well, how fitting is that then that we talk? So everybody else is getting to enjoy a nice day during their lunch break. Thanks for taking time to join us today. But I want to just begin by thanking you again for supporting this program. Pretty generic. What we'll use these for, recorded, we'll post them online. You'll have access to them to use as you will. But just a few simple little questions, maybe so people watching, if they haven't had a chance to meet you yet, they can find out just a little bit more about you. And
Sure.
why don't you take a minute and just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you'd like for the voters to know about your campaign.
Okay, I'm 73 years of age, retired, have lived in District 1 in the same house in Hunters Crossing for 33 and a half years, so I'm very familiar with District 1. I have a wife, I have 2 children, a son and a daughter, 4 great-grandchildren, one of which is a student at Wilson Central High School. The other 3 are in Atlanta. One is at Ole Miss, 2 are in Atlanta. And I retired from a Fortune 500 company where I prepared and managed multi-million-dollar budgets. So I'm very, very familiar with money. I ran back in 2018, was very fortunate to be elected. And I think I've represented District 1 in a humble and with a lot of integrity, a lot of honesty, a lot of sincerity. I've answered all requests for trying to correct problems or situations, resolve them, some of which I was directly impacted, some I just had to pass along to the correct people, but the involvement was there. And actually, I received several phone calls of thank you, which, you don't normally get thanks for being a public servant, but I was very appreciative of those.
Usually you hear the other ones, don't you?
No, you usually hear the bad things.
Well, I should have mentioned this for those watching. District 1, I've got it pulled up on my screen, and that's a geographically maybe it's not one of the larger districts, but the population is equally shared amongst all 25 commission districts. And yours is out on the very northwestern corner of Wilson County. Is that correct?
That is correct. It is adjacent to Davidson County. It encompasses several major subdivisions: Langford Farms, Green Acres, Green Harbor, Shiloh Park, Hunters Crossing, Langford Cove, and there are a couple of new ones across on the south side of Lebanon Road over at Oak Hill, which is on the west side of Devonshire.
I see.
Those were added to the district this year.
It makes it, when it's smaller, at least it makes it a little easier when you go door to door, isn't it? Instead of some of those.
It does. It is probably the most compact district within the county.
It looks like it, but with your experience as I should have mentioned an incumbent, you've been serving since you said 2018. Is that correct?
That's perfect.
What are some of the most, from your perspective and those of somebody wanting to be on the county commission, what are some of the most important matters facing, and I'll use the word community, but I mean the county, and perhaps maybe even specifically in your district that you're asking to represent again?
Funding. Everybody talks about money. You know, where is it coming from? There are only three really sources of revenue: property taxes, sales taxes, and AFT tax, adequate facilities tax. And that does everything pretty much. And we're in a situation now where the Board of Education would like to build 3 new schools in stages, an elementary and then a middle and then a high school over off of the Double Log Cabin Road over in the northwest corner of the, you know, over there past east of 109.
Right.
And there's considerable debate as to whether that's the proper property to purchase. The cost would be a little over $7.25 million just to purchase the property. Is in a storm plain, so the infrastructure additional cost would be pretty high. And of course, the schools will be built in stages. The commission's responsibility is not to pick out the site. The commission's responsibility is, can the county afford it? Can we fund it? And then the Board of Education decides where to place the schools. That's where they decided to place, or that area is the big need because of the growth up there. Going up 109, if you been there since they expanded it, the growth is phenomenal, such as we experienced in Mount Juliet 6 or 7 years ago. So the need is definitely there, and now it's just a matter of coming to a compromise as to, you know, should this be the piece of property that we agree to fund, or should there be additional due diligence done by the board? Maybe there's some other properties that property owners who haven't been addressed and asked if they would be willing to sell their property for this particular purpose. So that's the question as of now.
When people ask you that question, Mr. Field, do you have a strong feeling one way or the other yet, either for or against, or still gathering information?
Still gathering information. I know there are several commissioners that are vehemently against that location, because one thing, if you've been on Double Log Cabin Road, it's very narrow. There aren't any shoulders where you could expand it to make it a 4-lane highway. The comeback from the board is, well, you know, we've got other schools that are on 2-lane roads, Central Pike where Springdale is. So, you know, it's kind of a catch-22. Mm-hmm. But they're afraid that if 3 schools are built there within the next, let's say, 5-year plan, which I think could take longer than that the road just could not handle that traffic capacity. So there are some pros and cons. I don't know which way it's going to go. I'm all for building the schools, regardless of the location. I don't want to jeopardize anybody's life, you know, because of a quote narrowness of a highway, but you know, we jeopardize our life every time we get behind the wheel. So that's really not a viable argument. What I would like to see done is to increase the AFT. We did this back in 2019. I'm on the Planning and Zoning Committee, and we came to a unanimous decision that we would ask for $7,500 for each new residence built in Wilson County, and then per square foot on a commercial building to seize the growth of the county, to build up our fund balance. Well, when this was presented as a resolution at the commission meeting, the whole back room was full of realtors. And when you have a whole bunch of numbers, people get leery. So the decision was made to lower it to 5,000, which was passed. So we're probably going to go back and request an additional $2,500 to increase it, because the growth is still there. If you look at the number of residences that have been built since that increase was passed, and look at the amount of revenue that we have lost by not going to 7,500 at the initial versus, you know, lowering it down to 5,000, we could have a lot more money in our fund balance. And now's the time because we have a AA+ rating, bond rating, to borrow money to build these schools. It's just the location. And, you know, the less money that we have to borrow, we might even classify as a AAA bond rating. So
When you mentioned a minute ago, and I'll be real brief on this.
Sure.
You mentioned a road perhaps inadequate in some people's opinion. Most people probably have never even been out there that have an opinion. But that being said, you mentioned 3 schools. Can the viewers assume that you're talking about a campus type thing? For example, Siegel or Station, where you have a high school, middle school, and elementary school, pretty much on one footprint.
that is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify, that's, some cars be driving students, others with buses, and if anybody caught 3 schools in one piece of property, I believe that's what you were talking about.
Right. There are 3 parcels totaling 171.5 acres, and it would be one campus.
Gotcha. We, that's a perfect segue into growth, new people moving here. We probably, like any other growing area, have our challenges, but the numbers would suggest that we're doing a lot of things right. It's a place that people want to come and raise their families, and they want to work and live and shop and play and pray, and they can do that. And it's a wonderful place. What are some of the things you think right now that the viewers could take comfort in knowing that our local government at the county level specifically are doing well?
Well, we're addressing our funds. Okay, we're in the black, considerably in the black. We're a cohesive unit. Okay, there's 25 of us, but yet we have very few arguments. Now we have discussions, but we all come to an agreement. I think if you look at the commission voting record, there are very, very few negatives or abstentions. Mostly, of course, all that discussion is done in the committee meetings, and that's what people don't understand. If they really want to get involved in local government, local politics, attend the committee meetings, because the commission meeting vote is just pretty much a formality, because all the, yes, we need $1,000, no, we can sell it for 650. Okay, well, all that's done in the committee meetings. So it's pretty much, yes, it is a formality. It's, and they say, well, you don't do anything. Well, come to the committee meetings and you'll hear the pros and cons of each and every idea or suggestion or request for money, transferring money, hiring different people. That's where everything happens.
You and I have known each other for many, many years, and I think we both can agree that it hasn't, that harmony, cohesiveness, consistent leadership, whatever you want to call it, it hasn't always been that way. And the stability, I believe, just a casual observation, people they get comfortable, and they become more confident in our local government when it works like that.
Yes, sir, I agree. Both city and county level.
I think you could look and see there's a whole lot of 23-0, 24-1, 25-0 votes, and I think that's a credit to everybody sitting on that commission. But
well, like I said, that's because those decisions have already been made in the committee meetings, and it's not just the committee members who attend. A lot of times you'll look around the room and there'll be 9 or 10 additional commissioners there as attendees. And yes, we have input after the chairman will address it and say, anybody in the audience have a comment or a question. So just because you're not on the committee doesn't mean you don't have any feedback or any input.
I think that's a compliment to everybody that in the leadership on the committees, for creating an environment where people feel comfortable enough, if you will, that it really does make a difference, and that probably just perpetuates itself across a lot of the decisions that are made.
Yes, sir.
you mentioned earlier, your background is in a Fortune 500 company, so you have a lot of insight and experience with large companies. As Mount Juliet, Lebanon, Watertown, and County look into their crystal ball, we know development's going to come. We see the residential, but what type of large companies and development would you like to see going forward that we actively recruit and try to get to call Wilson County home?
Well, I know everybody has always wanted a Sam's Club or a Costco.
Yeah.
And I understand, and I don't have this in firm writing, but I understand that is a go in a location within the county. I can't specifically say where. Actually, I believe Wilson County could handle both. Give us an option. There are enough people, enough wealth in this county, and look at the surrounding counties. People would drive 50. I mean, how many people drive to Williamson County now to go to Costco from Wilson County? So I'd like to see both. I think if we get I'd love to see some more technological companies, some more fiber optic companies. I know Clarksville just got one about 2 years ago that employed a whole ton of folks. Those types, because, I'm in the 70s, so I'm kind of behind times in technology, okay? But the people that are moving in are not. They are more technologically advanced than I am. So we need to keep up with those people, keep up with those residences. So, because they're coming in from high-tech states, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, California, Arizona. I think we're a little bit behind the times in Tennessee on that. And I really think Governor Lee's trying to address it.
There've been a few catches lately. GC is at the forefront of that, working for all of Wilson County at the JECDD. Tritium, the fast charging car battery business, took over the Toshiba in Lebanon. REI, in Wilson County. Gallatin got Facebook. So I would think that I know those Wilson County is at least on the radar screen for those types of industries.
Yeah, Mr. Hickson has done a really wonderful job with that. Lady.
Yeah, we're lucky to have him. We're lucky to have him. He knows his stuff, and from the opening of the Speedway to the Walmart distribution center up and down 840, those properties pay a lot of taxes for all of us. So, as we kind of end up, we said we'd keep it to 20 minutes, which I appreciate you respecting that time. But just maybe recap why you think or feel you're the best candidate for the position. And when you close out, if this is the first one of these you've done this year, don't forget to ask for their vote. You'd be surprised how many people forget that. I'll remind you to do that. But give us some parting thoughts as we approach early voting next Wednesday, I guess. And then on May the 3rd, May the 3rd or 4th is the actual election. 3rd. Okay. Why don't you share with us a couple of parting thoughts?
First thing is experience. I've learned a lot in 4 years about local government. I've attended all these classes. It was funny when you're mandated to take X number of classes to be a commissioner once you're elected. And I just kept taking classes. I didn't know anything about this other thing. And all of a sudden I get a call and said, we've enrolled you in COCTP. I said, great, what is that? How much is that going to cost me? He said, well, it's called County Official Certified Training Program. I said, okay, great, what did I do? She said, well, you've already exceeded the number of hours and courses that you are required. I said, okay, well, what do I do next? She said, well, you have to attend what we call a capstone event. That's where I am now. Said, and as of Friday at noon, you'll be a certified public administrator. I said, great, what's the next step? She said, well, you can try to be a certified financial officer. Okay, what does that take? It takes 88 hours, 8 hours a month for 11 consecutive months. I said, well, okay. She said, we'll go ahead and get on the list. Anyway, that experience of every aspect of government, not just being a commissioner, but what the register of deeds does, what's the trustee's job, what's the properties assessor's job, what's the county mayor's job, what's the county attorney's job? I wanted to learn all of those, although I had a vague idea. I didn't know the details, and I was amazed at some of the things. The fact that I've lived here so long, I pretty much know everybody. The committees that I serve on, audit, making sure that our financial records are agreeable with the state comptroller. We don't want to get in trouble with the state comptroller. The planning and zoning committees, what do we do with certain pieces of land? How do we address the land usage? How do we enforce codes? And Lord knows I'm probably Dan Broderick, our county and codes inspector's worst pest. Because when I called Dan, I said, listen, there's a house that's got a lot of garbage in their yard. And Dan goes by, gives them a violation, warns them, said, or they have a whole bunch of junk cars, or they're building without a permit. And people appreciate this because I want District 1 as well as the other 24 districts to be as clean and beautiful as they can be. I don't want Wilson County to become a junkyard. And I especially don't want District 1 to become a junkyard. I'm out in the community. I'm active. I do a lot of volunteering. And I just want everybody to vote for me. I mean,
You remember.
I've done what I wanted to be a public servant. I didn't do it for the money. I don't do it for the money. They could not pay me, and I'd still do it because I've always served. I've done disaster relief through Wilson County, volunteering. I volunteered for the American Legion Honor Guard when we honor veterans who pass away. These things just mean something to me. And Wilson County is my home. It's the next place I'll go will be the funeral home or the nursing home. I'm not leaving Wilson County.
Well, good. We're glad to have you share with folks real quick. If they want to get away or get in touch with you, you have a website perhaps?
I do not have a website, but they can call me anytime at 615-519-1819, or they can get me on the government website, robert.fields@wilsoncountytn.gov, or they can use my personal email, which they may not like being a Georgia fan, but it's RCF, my initials, GADAWG@yahoo.com. And I'll be more than, I pull for Tennessee, I pull for Vanderbilt, I pull for not any SEC, but the majority of the SEC schools.
And I would add that if you're watching more than one of these, the Wilson County has a very easy to navigate website. They have all the departments separated in alphabetical order. You're extremely easy to get in touch with. I know you went out of your way to make today happen. We had a kind of a short window of time. We're doing this with all the candidates that are going to represent, asking to represent the county in every level of government, from the clerk's office, county commission, county mayor. And so I appreciate you personally for taking time out to join us today. I hope you get your money's worth out of that, your capstone event that you're at today. And
So Mark,
absolutely.
as an honorably discharged veteran, I encourage everyone to vote. If you don't want to vote for me, I accept that. You vote for my candidate, but please, please, please exercise your right to vote. I had many friends that went to Vietnam and they're still over there.
Yeah, I think that's a good message for everybody. I hope others mention it as well. Enjoy your time at Montgomery Bell State Park. Thank you for choosing to spend a little time for our Coffee with a Candidate program. Robert, it's great to see you.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it.
Have a good afternoon. Bye.
You do the same.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.